Hi, welcome to Beav-Art Talks, and this is the 6th episode of the show. If you haven't listened to any of the others, I interviewed Barry J. Davies, Lucy Mitchell, Richard Tate, Ellie Pompili, and Jared Orlin. And now I'm joined by Brighton well-known gallery owner of Conclave, Sukey Booth.
Hi.
I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. Amazing that you've agreed to come onto it. And I just want to start the show with if you could explain a little bit about yourself, from where you started and how you ended up being the owner of the gallery Conclave.
Okay, so I started,
Sorry.
I guess, if we go back to the sort of very beginning, I guess came from quite arty family.
Okay.
I ended up going to St Martin's, so I went to art college, and to say about the family thing, so I went to the same art college my dad went to, in the same building.
Really?
Yeah. That was all quite a while ago. But with an element, I did critical fine art practice back in the mid-90s. And I guess when I left there, I realised that I wasn't going to fall out of uni and get employed as a fine artist. So one thing led to another, and a lot of compromises were made around, realistically having to make a living. And the short story there is that I accidentally became an accountant. And then I spent about 20 years doing very sort of sensible work in those kind of areas.
Right.
Which I could do, but was certainly not what I'd ever really intended to do. You just fall into these things. And then about 10 years ago, I the very sensible job I was doing for quite a large employer, I was made redundant, basically.
Okay.
Which I was happy for that to happen at that time, because I was sort of looking for a good excuse to get out of that. And yes, with that little redundancy payout, I thought I need to do something meaningful and quite maybe use it to take a risk, and do something that I actually really want to do, and not just carry on doing the same thing again and again. And that little payout was actually the permission to start the gallery. I'd always wanted to. I wanted to kind of create, I'd realised that the things that I wanted to be part of weren't really happening in Brighton, that there was an art scene that was, it had its niche. It had its purpose, but it was still very much like, this is all very showy. It's quite exclusive. It had
the other galleries.
Yeah,
Okay.
or the scenes. And so I think I knew very much what I didn't want my gallery to be.
Yeah.
Because I'd kind of felt so. Some people would say spotted a gap in the market, but I think it was just like I kind of knew what sort of space I wanted to create, and what kind of. It wasn't necessarily even just a gallery. It was a kind of a bit of a, sounding really cliched and horrible, but like a bit of a kind of creative hub space for people.
That's cool. Yeah, you have like everybody, all of the artists. I mean, you basically created a collective of artists, and we're all still in contact with each other now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. Every other artist I speak to, even like some that have come on my podcast, we all started at Conclave, or we all kind of met through Conclave, or we know of other artists through Conclave, and it was because of you who brought us all together. And you ran a tight ship, and it was amazing. We all knew where we were. We loved the gallery. You used to do regular exhibitions, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was right in the centre, right in the centre of Brighton, dash down from the Brighton station on Queen's Road.
And awesome. I did want it to feel a bit like that people could just come in and sort of do things. And yes, obviously there was organisation and structure to it, but at the same time, it's sort of feeling a bit like, an art pub almost.
Yeah.
But, it was a thing where, it wasn't a daunting kind of the white cube space, the exclusivity, the looking down your noses, that sort of like...
never felt like that at all.
So those were definitely the things that I wanted to avoid. And then it was like, I can actually create this space, this thing that I wanted to happen. It's like, I can do this now and take a risk, go for it. And obviously I had some confidence, having spent 20 years working with money and projects and things like that gave me a bit of a, if anyone could do this, it should be me.
Nice.
With both those backgrounds. So yeah, I think, I jumped in, built it from the ground up.
And when did that start? What was the year? Do you know the year when you started?
So I started looking at spaces around in sort of 2016, 2017.
Oh, okay.
The gallery opened in 2018, at the very end of 2018.
Yeah.
So and then had that for 5 years, that particular space in Queen's Road. But yeah, it was a bit of a trying to find the right kind of space. I mean, commercial spaces in Brighton are very varied in price and function and all sorts of things, as in what kind of vibe a particular street might be as well. It can be kind of strange what you can get for your money, to be honest. So, but I knew when I saw that space that it was the one for me. That it had a good sort of ground floor space that kind of felt welcoming enough from the outside, but we also had the little hidey hole in the basement.
Which was a big enough space. It was a good space.
So that kind of allowed for the overspill and the freedom of things that couldn't necessarily happen upstairs. So, and I knew I wanted to have a kind of the appendix to the ground floor in a way. Call it what we want, but yeah.
And it was right next to Hope and Ruin as well. So if you wanted to go for a drink or watch some live music, it was always it's a good location.
Right between two gig spots.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and even was it the
Rossi bar next door?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, and then near the clock tower as well, there's the
folklore rooms.
Folklore rooms, and there's upstairs they used to do comedy nights as well, didn't they?
So that's the Quadrant.
That's it, the Quadrant. Yeah.
But they're now renamed the folklore rooms.
Really?
Upstairs the Quadrant.
I didn't know that. I haven't been there for a while though.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't. Yeah.
Same space.
Same space. Yeah. Pretty
New name.
Cool. So what made you open the gallery? I know, because you studied art, and your dad was into art as well.
Yeah.
You studied art, and you studied the same place, but
why the gallery?
Why a gallery, and why not push your own art and do your own thing?
So I think it was about creating that kind of social structure around art.
Okay.
The people, and rather than it being a lone activity to do, just sitting there doing my own work, it was creating a space where these conversations could happen, and being able to also, I think, maybe it's a little bit of, this is very much a kind of Brighton activity of taking a cultural sort of activity, a thing that people do on their own, but turning it into a public space. And hopefully, obviously, as well, trying to do that as something that could be commercially viable. I think it was about creating some relationships and opportunities, and also, I think, creating the sort of space and opportunities for younger artists that obviously weren't there for us when we were younger. Sorry, tarring you with the same brush of my age, and you're not, but
close enough.
Near enough, But
I get it, because every exhibition I was part of in your gallery, every year, was it 2 months? Or you used to do
pretty much every two months, change them over.
But there was always new artists every time on the list. I used to like it because you'd submit your work, and then you would be like, this one or this one, not this. Very no, I like this. Don't bother with them. And it was really good because you knew where you stood, and it was like you used to always give the artists helpful advice as well, because you obviously being an artist yourself, you knew what paper material would be good, what GSM was correct or for that type of art, and you gave sound advice to the artists as well, especially for the new ones who didn't have that experience, who wanted to be part of it and were included. So it wasn't just a gallery. It felt like we were all being accepted regardless of our artistic backgrounds, and you were there to kind of look after us all in a way. It was quite nice.
Yes,
it was lovely, and I
would try
that.
to have at least one person new who into the gallery for each show, and hopefully one person who'd never shown in a gallery before, so giving them their first opportunity. And very much it's not who can do the talk of I've done this and this and this, and it wasn't about people's CVs. It was very much about the work.
Well, because you've had a keen eye for what you liked, so you knew what you thought would sell.
Yes, and ultimately, it was my gallery and my business, and if there was work I didn't like or people I didn't like, then they weren't coming in.
Which is
but that was nice.
Because you've got to work with them. They're like be business partners, aren't they, at the end of the day? So I get that.
But it means that we've now got this lovely group of artists and people that we're still in,
and we're still going strong, and we're
all
doing little shows, but we do all miss Conclave, because we knew where we stood with you. Like, even if we were running low on if you'd say, we've sold all of these prints, but we've got one left, I need restock. Perfect. We knew where we were, and we knew what type of print it was. Yeah. So it was ideal. And that's what, a lot of artists, we all talk about it, and we said you ran a tight ship. I've probably said it already, but everyone loved it. It was really cool.
And I think, that obviously, I would say most galleries are not run by people who had 20 years in sort of financial business management, and we're used to having spreadsheets for absolutely everything, and the expectations of how efficiently certain business functions are run. So I guess I took that as being quite the standard at which you start things, and applying that to that world, because that's how I think people should be treated. And I'm not going to, just because it's an art business doesn't mean that you get to treat people terribly.
No.
And so,
but it
and
did
unprofessionally.
Show.
So that I think was my default, but I don't think I realised quite how different it was until people would say to me things like, other artists would say, no one else does this. We have to chase them up for payment and things. So, we
do. Yeah, a lot of us do. We have to, even now. It's bizarre. Because I think we were spoiled with you, to be fair. We had that from day one. We were like, oh no, we want this from everyone. Why isn't everyone doing this? But did you ever have... is there any art pieces that you have from the past, from all the artists that exhibited at Conclave? Do you have any of the art yourself? Did you ever buy any of the art for your own?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I have to say, sort of about halfway through, I realised that I needed to stop doing it quite as much as I was.
Oh,
because
putting yourself out of pocket.
Yeah. But I think at the beginning it was a bit of, I'll just treat myself to one piece from every show.
And
it was like, And also I think I realised it's like, I get to sit in this space.
Oh yes, you get to see it all the time.
So
anyway.
I'm looking at it here. I don't need to necessarily take it home. Also, I think because there was a big pile that was building up at home in frames waiting for me to redecorate my hallway, which still hasn't been done.
Oh no.
So a lot of them are still not on the wall. However, yes. So there's a few bits from a few different artists. So in fact, some of the people from sort of quite early on. So Precious Murphy, who's Paul, who may, I don't think he'd moved out of Brighton by the time you came on board.
No, I don't think I met him.
A couple of his. And I've got a few bits of Billy Chainsaw's work.
I know Billy Chainsaw. He might be on the show soon.
Good man. Good solid.
Nice guy.
I've got some. got some works from Barry.
Oh, hello.
However,
So do I.
to be fair, I think that was gifted to me. But yeah, there's a few pieces knocking about actually. Yeah, yeah. And yeah. Oh no, you put me on the spot. But yes.
But I know, well, this question I kind of know the answer for, but I'll ask anyway because it's good for the podcast. But do you still know or see many of the artists who you exhibit at your gallery at all?
Not all of them, because there were a lot. And yes, brought my list to remind myself there were 149. So yeah, quite difficult to stay in contact with.
That's a lot of artists. Yeah. That's amazing.
But yes, yeah, absolutely. It's nice to sort of every now and then sort of be able to pop back into the art world, and I think we all come together in kind of similar sort of art shows. So yeah, when openings and the like. But yeah, it reminds me that I need to be doing more these days. So
okay,
yeah.
Do you have any horror stories from the gallery at all, or?
There are the horror stories generally tend to be around really practical things that weren't necessarily art related. There was the time when there was a flood and all the electrics went out on the afternoon of when it was supposed to be opening a show.
Oh.
So and I really didn't know what to do, and I sort of like, do I cancel it? It's like, it's due to open in 4 hours, and after a while we managed to work out that we could get some of the circuits back on, but basically couldn't open up downstairs.
Oh no! Was
Couldn't
it still
do
like?
because we didn't have toilets because they were all downstairs in darkness. So, so yeah, I think being responsible for a building in Brighton when it's I think that building was 1850 something. So it's made of bungarouche. If you don't know what bungarouche is, look it up. It's generally known as the worst building material in the world.
Was that
pretty
what
much
a lot of
pretty
Brighton
much
buildings were made of?
Yeah. Pretty much exclusively found in Brighton and Hove. But anyway, the gallery was built of this material, which just means that anything can happen.
Right.
And mysterious floods, water coming in, blowing out electrics, pools of water everywhere at exactly the wrong point when you don't need it. So that was very stressful.
Crazy.
But do you know what? We worked our way around it. We kept everyone upstairs.
Oh, you kept it open?
Yeah. Managed to, I thought we were going to have to close, managed to get the power on upstairs and just had to send everyone out to the toilets in next door's pub.
Wow.
So,
fair play.
And deal with the crisis the next day. So, yeah.
Wow.
I think I was quite frazzled. That might have been the PV where I just spoke very shrilly to everyone and kind of like, it's fine, everything is fine. But yeah.
Oh man, I don't know how you kept it together. But I probably wouldn't have been aware of it. I don't know if I was in that show or not, because I mean, we had a few of them. We never went downstairs anyway because it was only like the upstairs was the main thing, unless it was like a big exhibition where you'd open up downstairs. And
yeah.
But maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't remember it anyway. If that was the case, so you must have kept it together all right.
It was probably about halfway through the time there, so it could be. But yeah. I think we used to let downstairs just sort of as a bit of overflow, and also the bar down there and the toilets down there. So, but yes, that was. I think the thing is, it's like you can be in your arty kind of curatorial gallery mode. That's great. You can be in business. I'm organising this, and then you've also got event management for PV. That's kind of on there. What you really don't need on top of all that is buildings maintenance manager role, which I was as well. So and that was quite a horror story. But yeah, that building taught me a lot.
So, did you notice any difference in the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic with the gallery?
Massively.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it kind of like much more of a different feel before and then when after? Was it hard to get that momentum again, or was it just...
Yeah. I mean, everyone sort of says that your first year in business in retail is the worst, but for us it was actually the best. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. And it does sort of make me think, how would it have gone on had the pandemic not have happened. But yes, it was, had a year and a bit. So November opened, 1st of December 2018.
Okay.
And obviously by December 2019, it was being muttered around, and by March, we had all the close downs. So, the lockdowns. So we had a sort of year behind us. I say we. I always talk about that as a Conclave is the we, even though it was just me.
It was your,
It separates
it was your
me.
family, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was your thing.
Yeah. And obviously up and down for a couple of years, but then it was just so quiet. And then if people did come into town, it was almost like they were doing it for, you'd get some very busy days where people were just piling down to the beach, but people weren't using town centres in the same way. Obviously, lots of people were no longer coming into town to work following that. So you would get less of the sort of lunchtime shoppers and after work shoppers and people who were just having a little poodle about before they went home. So that had all pretty much disappeared. It started coming back slowly, and I think I was aware that people needed more of a reason and a focus to come in rather than just being around and thinking that looks interesting. So we did really have to start pushing on the whole evening events and fringe events and things like that, as trying to kind of create a focus.
I remember you brought them in. Yeah, I remember that.
So that became more urgent. I think that was always like open upstairs, get that going, and then it was open up downstairs as and when it's ready. But that became far more kind of critical, I think, to the kind of business case for it. To try and, because I think people, I think people are still prepared to come out, but instead of it just being we're going into town, it was there's this thing on and we will do this. People want to go to ticketed events quite often. So,
once you've got the ticket, you're kind of more obliged to take part in it. You don't want to waste that.
And people, I think, are more likely to talk to their friends about organising things. So everyone became a bit more planned about things, didn't they, post-pandemic? So
that's true.
Yeah. So, but yes, it definitely became very different in terms of a lot of my customers were people who were just wandering by thinking, that looks interesting, I'm just going in.
Oh, cool.
And that was good, because I'd kind of wanted that, for it to feel a bit like a shopping experience, so that you weren't being stared at and that you could just pop in and have a nosy and then pop back out again. And so that was always a big part of it. But when you lose a lot of people who are in general, I'm just having a nosy around things that I'm passing whilst in Brighton, it definitely became quite difficult. So
did you notice much difference? Was online sales okay, or did they pick up, or did you know, was there much of a difference?
I did not have online sales before the pandemic.
Oh, serious?
It was really a big thing for me, in terms of I want to get people off their tiny little screens and into a real space and into real life, and to stop seeing things, and to actually to be able to hold physical items rather than just.
So was that more of a during or post pandemic, because of you could go online to buy and get the framing as well, couldn't you?
So I built that. I had to do a quick, short, sharp lesson in how to build a website.
Nice, that was good. It was good.
It was a bit like I had the time. We were no longer in the gallery, and it's like, okay, I guess I better learn how to build a web shop. So, yes, that was. There was no online sales before, apart from literally a few things, like I think we had some ticket sales and things for events and things.
Okay.
So I had the holding website, but I did not do an online shop
really,
unless people. It was there, the functionality was there, and I'd get the odd few things, like people who'd come in for the day, looked at something, got back on the train, and then realised they should have bought it, and they were like, oh, could I buy online? I've realised you haven't got something. So I'd do things like set them up and just kind of, but I didn't want to list everything. And that was a big job, cataloguing things and putting them online. So, so I'd do them, I did little ad hoc things just to enable people to pay by distance. But no, there wasn't a shop to browse through before.
Oh.
So that was entirely built through COVID. So I don't really have anything to compare it to.
Would that have been a bit of a because like you say, that wasn't the original idea of what your gallery was about. It was a go in, see the stuff and buy it.
Yeah.
So would you say that had a kind of a bad effect on your gallery, or it kind of helped later on, and maybe it was something you kind of feel like could have been an option, or now it's kind of
I guess it was good in that, you know, obviously as soon as you start getting web activity, it kind of acts as a marketing and promotional sort of thing, doesn't it? Yeah. So having a website presence that was more active and was updated. And yes, people use it to find things, and people would actually, what was nice is that people would, if they were locally, they might be looking at local art galleries and then might have a look round in the shop and see, in the web shop thing, and see that, oh, actually things are quite reasonable, and do you know what, I'm going to come in and see this in person. So people would tell me they had looked at a few things online but wanted to come in and see them in person.
Oh, perfect.
So that was great. That was the whole thing. So that kind of
added a few sales then.
Yeah. So that definitely, it did have a benefit, but I'm not going to lie, having to set the web shop up did have me have a pretty large tantrum having to do it. I knew it needed doing, but I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, it's a laborious task, isn't it?
Also, I had no excuse not to do it, seeing as the gallery was closed. So, yeah.
And it always has to constantly be updated as well, because it's the new next exhibition, new things are coming up. It's always continuous.
Yeah, there were thousands and thousands of items on that web shop, which was not the thing that I'd intended to do. So, yeah.
So if you had a gallery today, would you do things differently, or would you run it a similar sort of way, or what would be your new? Now you've had that experience of pre and post and online as well. What would you do differently, or would you run it the same, or I don't know.
I think I would have to run it differently. I think it's very difficult for something like that to remain commercially viable, doing it the way I was. And I think the main thing I would look at, and you do see this in a lot more independent shops now, is that I wouldn't. I mean, I had 1 day off a week, closed on Mondays, so I would look at actually having a focus round Thursday to Sunday or something like that.
Okay.
And it means sort of moving away from possibly the tourist market, which, you know, there was a fair few people coming off the station heading down to there. You know, but I'm thinking about it in a sort of like, you know, it'll probably be in a different sort of area, but have it more of a focused thing around around the weekend, and it would sort of mean that. I mean, the difficult bit obviously was the stress of the financial responsibility of having a bricks and mortar place in the middle of town.
So the overheads for that, yeah.
It was not cheap. So
I can imagine, because it's a good location.
Yeah, and you get a lot of stress from constantly having to think you've got to make back enough to cover those before you do anything else. And I think I would probably look at somewhere else that was, maybe a little bit further out, because actually that high street sort of presence maybe isn't worth the money it was pre-pandemic. And maybe building up a reputation for something that's maybe a little bit not totally far away, but maybe just not quite so on the main route. But actually having a focus on part of the week only.
Right.
And I guess it's a bit like when you look at artist open houses that only happen during weekends. That if you build enough of a reputation, people will know you're there Thursday to Sunday, say, whatever it is. It gives you a bit more flexibility around earning your money during the week.
It sounds like you've been giving it a bit of thought.
I have, and and I would definitely like to do some pop-ups.
So you would exclusive? Would you be doing pop-ups again? Then obviously
I definitely want to do it. I can't commit to exactly when it will be. What I am looking at and what I'd really like to do is for it to be part of the whole May Brighton Festival scene.
Nice.
Obviously the festival.
Good time of year.
Yeah, the main festival is obviously quite curated and specific, but it's obviously a time when everyone's got their everyone's got their cultural trousers on,
Yeah.
and they are taking them out on town.
We got the Brighton Festival, you've got the Fringe,
Yeah.
you've got the Great Escape,
Exactly.
you've got Artist Open House, you've got everything and anything
Yeah.
happens in May.
And
it's
I
just
think
the
I
best
would
time.
actually like to align into the Fringe Festival, having already done parts of that.
So you know you've got the contacts.
So
cool.
and doing something, quite different.
That could be awesome.
Yeah, so watch this space for news on
Yeah.
what it is and where it is. But I know that I want it to be short, sharp burst of a lot of activity. So
Cool.
yeah,
That could be awesome.
so yes, it would almost certainly be just weekends or just
Perfect.
a few days,
Yeah.
so that we have got the effort to do it properly. So yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you'll make a lot of artists happy hearing that.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, it's great that. This is one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave the high street location under a dark cloud of having been declared bankrupt and owing artists money, as I know some things have done. And it was like, I need to leave sensibly. I want to treat everyone fairly, and I want to be able to still hold the name
respectably.
Yeah. So yes, Conclave will be back. Yeah. But not at 9 Queens Road.
No, a pop-up sounds amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah. So, and hopefully with there will be all the usual affordable art goodiness, but hopefully also some of the more fringy things, because obviously I've hosted theatre events and workshops and things like that as well.
Yeah,
so I'd really love for all of that to come together.
Yeah.
So
is there anything on the art scene at the moment? Any art stuff that exhibitions you've been to, or local artists that you've seen that you kind of think, oh, that's kind of turned your head? You think, oh, that looks quite good, or anything for?
I'm going to go really off message here.
Okay.
And tell you that the most impressive thing I've seen recently was a show in Berlin, which was a great big kind of, and it really made me want to do my own practice again, and to get other people together. And it was in this huge warehouse on the outskirts, and it was a kind of 45-minute immersive installation of music and really clever lighting in a kind of thing that went through the seasons, and that people would move around the space and sort of sit on the swings in a kind of fake garden, and then there was a great big mirror ball with it kind of as it kind of came into summer, and then there was it was an amazing space in a warehouse, and it was this huge and
How was that done? Was it like drones or visual screens? And
No. It's physically sort of like the garden spaces. Well, I think I presume it was all fake plants, but hugely built, just a huge warehouse space of people moving around. So they were physical. So it's kind of like walking into a large sculpture installation in a warehouse. And then there are projections that go across the walls and down to the floors, but then just such clever lighting. I mean, obviously it's been set up for it to be there for a while, because I can't imagine that it would be worth doing if it was going to be done for less than, say, 6 months or something.
Oh, right. Okay.
But,
so
was
it a ticketed sort of thing, or can you just show
No,
up?
it was a ticketed thing, along with it's called Dark Matter. So I think that's the space, and then they have their permanent part, which is sort of light and visuals installations in 10 spaces, and then they have this changing exhibit, which I think is, like I said, I think it's maybe every 6 months or so.
Okay.
But that really invigorated me as to the potential of spaces and experience in spaces and light and sound and visuals and people. And then, you'd have all sorts of different people. You've got the people who typically go to galleries. So you have a couple of an old couples sitting there and carefully watching. And then other people who, this music comes around, and it's very different sort of, it went through different genres through the 45 minutes. And there are bits that were quite Berlin banging techno, and other people are starting to sort of rave in the background, and the mirror ball's going. And you just think every type of person is in this space. Everyone is enjoying it, and you can sit back or you can step right into it. And it made me really excited again about the potential of space, and actually what wasn't ridiculously complicated. I mean, God knows, I'm sure it probably was in terms of the coordination of
Yeah,
all
but
the
if
lighting,
you know
timing.
how to do it, then
Yeah.
it's
But ultimately, it wasn't, special effects and AI and things. It was someone's vision, a large space, some music, and a sculptural sort of setup, and it was just amazing.
wow.
And it really made me want to do something in a large warehouse. So
Nice.
yeah. And really terribly, I've forgotten the name of the artist. So
No, that's if anybody knows, please leave a message in the podcast below on YouTube or Spotify.
or I will find out and put a comment in
Yeah,
later.
yeah. Oh, that'd be amazing. You could also do if it's like if you do the pop-ups, then the usual artists with the immersive experience and the fringe.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
I
my
would love
gosh.
to do something where there's
Amazing.
enough space to do almost everything. But yeah,
it's just finding the place in.
it is.
Locally,
It is.
But there is places you can hire for pop-ups locally. I mean, obviously there's a Fishing Court Gallery if you wanted to do something like that. But then
I'm hoping
they
to
book
go
up
a
quite
little bit more sort of
bigger.
left field and more along the lines of something that's probably not been used as a cultural space before.
are just making it from something.
Yeah. So
Well,
I won't spill my secrets.
No,
but
fair enough.
I would really like it to be in a space that people have not seen art events in before. There are empty spaces, so hopefully I can get one of those to work for this. So
I'm getting
it'd
excited
be
about
quite
this
a
already.
big collaborative, quite big admin job as well. And this is it. It's like I don't want to sort of do it half-heartedly.
No.
So if I'm going in, I'm going all in.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
I'm excited to hear.
So fingers crossed. But it's also why it won't just be in a month's time. I'm looking at May next year. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's lots of planning to do.
But in the meantime, if someone wants to invite me to put my own work into something that they're organising without me having to do any organising, I am well in there.
Actually, we haven't
I need a
discussed
good
about
excuse.
your art. We need to talk about your art because when you closed the gallery, you put on, as a final show, your own exhibition.
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit to the audience about your exhibition? Because I myself and a load of our other artists who were at Conclave managed to get to see the show, and it was awesome, and it was quite immersive as well in its own way.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a story of your life as well.
Yes.
In I don't know, like was it a kind of a joining of where your path had gone, your journey?
So it was a sort of about orientation and disorientation.
That's it.
It was
as well.
Used the whole space as for some sort of slightly more static works, but the whole thing hopefully came together as a bit of an installation work.
Yeah, it did.
There were a number of different things in there. There was a very large kind of world map, which was kind of set up a bit like a crime scene. Or not crime scene, but a crime. Sorry, what am I talking about?
Because you had all of the strings.
Yeah, the crime board, like the police kind of evidence board with the
it.
bits and pieces, which sort of mapped things like my families, my parents, their families and things, where they'd sort of moved around in the world from. Also, and bits would there was connections between the individual works in there physically, but also as a piece of work in itself. There was 1 mile of golden thread and red thread actually as well. So there was a mile of thread. So we sort of, which kind of everything sort of has multiple meanings in many ways. But you've got sort of story of the Silk Route, but also the golden thread that links people together and it links parts of your life. And it kind of looked also at some of the specific similarities, albeit kind of coincidences in many ways, between Hong Kong, which is where my mother grew up, and Brighton, and specifically that Queen's Road site. So things like there being a clock tower that was built as a very kind of Victorian, and people don't often think too much about clock towers, but they were often very much kind of phallic, sort of men come in and going, we're having this island, we're having this, and we're going to build a bloody great tower here. Stick a clock on the top.
And no, not a flag or a tower.
Yeah, it's like that's ours. And it was one of the first things that the Brits built in Hong Kong. Was just like, oh, we're having this,
right.
and we'll put a clock tower there. And
Yeah.
it was right round the corner from where my mum grew up, on Hong Kong Island. And then so things like that. And then they were both the one in Hong Kong was also a central point where people would stand to demonstrate and protest, which obviously the Brighton one is as well.
Yeah.
And the Brighton one at one point was nearly knocked down because it was getting in the way of traffic.
I didn't know that.
It didn't, obviously, everyone kicked off, it's listed, all the rest of it. But
because we're good at protests in Brighton.
Yeah. The one in Hong Kong was pulled down because it got in the way of cars.
Oh, no.
So, but they were sort of very similar age-wise, things like that anyway. But it kind of talked about stories like that and about etymology of the words and disorientation, about the feeling of not knowing where you are, but also disorientation literally just means to not know where the East is, and a bit of being born and bred in Brighton.
Yeah.
But obviously people knowing that I have other heritage, other ethnic heritage, is a kind of like do you lose yourself when you lose your notion of the East? Which is literally what disorientation is. So there's all kinds of things.
That was lovely.
Yeah. So little sort of ghosts, memories, and old photographs, and kind of the places that kind of the what makes your grounding in terms of when people do the whole cliched "where are you from?" and it's kind of like, okay, so here's a map, and literally this is the first place, this is the hospital I was born in, this is the hospital my dad was born in, that's the hospital my mum was born in, these are all the places that my dad rented in his teenage years after leaving school, and these are sort of like, so all those sorts of things. And
that
it
must
kind
have
of
taken ages to plan.
And quite a lot of conversation with parents who don't necessarily remember things that.
But do you know, that's amazing
detail.
that you've done that, because a lot of people don't get the chance to sit down with their folks and have this conversation, and that's amazing, because now you've brought them into your world as well as them, giving you a part of their world that you might not have known about before you did that exhibition.
And
so
it gave them a good opportunity for them to all get their photo albums out as well. So
nice.
So,
I mean, parents love getting a photo album out anyway, don't they?
Yeah.
I bet they got some embarrassing ones out for you when you were little and that as well.
There were a few of those, although I have to say, you may not have noticed it, but I did think, you're going to have to put some.
Yes, I did.
So there was the fully embarrassing one of me and my sister with our bowl haircuts. There's no other way of putting it, but sort of early charlatans hairdos, frankly. So
the Tim Burgess look.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
nice.
Haircuts by mum.
Oh my gosh! Right, the podcast is. I mean, I normally try and keep it to half hour, but this is like 42 minutes. So, but it's cool because it's been really interesting. But I need to ask you one very important question, and then another question. So I'll give you the other question first and save the important one to last.
Okay.
So the first question is, if you were going to advise a gallery owner / artist, given any advice about running a gallery or how to do what you did really with Conclave going forward, I mean, you don't have to divulge in too much detail. It's just, what advice would you give someone who just is thinking about opening the gallery, if you wanted to? Okay,
I would say be prepared to put the time in. Be prepared for the hard work. Don't assume it's going to be a glamorous job, but if you can put the hard work in and the hours, it can happen. Lots of people told me that I couldn't do it and that it would cost stupid amounts of money, but actually you get down, get your hands dirty, do it yourself. You can do this. You need to commit. It was a little bit like, I used to joke that it was a bit like having a friend of mine had a baby at the same week that I opened Conclave.
Oh, right.
And we kind of talked about them being both babies, in that there is blood, sweat, tears, a lot of financial pressure, tears, sleepless nights, all the rest of it. And if you're prepared for that, you will also get the benefits of it. So put the hard work in, know what you have an idea about what you want to do and what you don't want to do.
Okay.
don't try to be other people. You don't need to do that. Go in with your whole heart.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
something will come of it.
Yeah,
but
I
also
think that's
don't be
fine.
too proud to know, oh, things have changed. Don't, so yeah, obviously I had the bricks and mortar for 5 years, but if it's not working at this particular time, God, the world is crazy, and just accept that sometimes things have to change.
Yeah.
You can do things for a short while, and that's still a success. So yeah, go in, try it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's sound advice. Really cool. So now to the important question.
Okay.
This is, I don't know how to ask this, but I'll have to ask it. Who had the better shoes out of you and Barry J. Davis?
Okay, so obviously this maybe was contentious, an ongoing battle, probably some of the most competitive behaviour we may have seen at the private views was who had the sparkliest shoes.
Yeah,
as well.
that's true. Yeah.
Obviously, I like to think it was me.
Yeah.
Barry probably disagrees, and we will agree to disagree on this. But we think we both agree that a good pair of gold boots is worth its weight in gold.
Oh, there you go. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the way to end it.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, thank you very much for coming on the show. I
Thank
really appreciate
you.
it. I didn't think you would want to come on because I don't know, like it's been a while since the gallery's been there, and but it's amazing that you're going to do a pop up at some point. But yes,
It has to happen. Yep.
awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank
you
you.
very much for coming on.
Yay.